Welcome to Let Me Tell You About Uncorked. Brought to you by Asbury Park and Curtis. Hey, everybody. This is Scott Fain.
And Ashley J.
And welcome to Let Me Tell You About Uncorked. Today we're going to go through the wonderful movie. I've spoiled my at least my my personal opinion already. This wonderful movie from 2020, directed by Prentice, starring Courtney B, Vance, and Michael Mobley, and the lovely Niecy Nash. Uh, First off, what was your quick opinion on this one, Ashley? What'd you think?
It was a fresh spin on a story we all know. We all know the story of somebody going against the grain, and I liked how this one spent it, made it fresh.
Yeah, that was my thought too. You know, this one when you told me about, hey, let's do Uncorked, and you told me what it was about, I was like, barbecue, okay, wine, okay, interpersonal family drama. Oh, hey, I'm in. Shoot. Yeah,
Yeah.
this one, I really wound up digging this one right from the beginning. It had me.
Yeah, some good elements. I don't know if I made the music a selling point, but the music was really pretty cool too. It definitely kept you on your toes and kept that fresh feel to it. It
hmm
didn't let you get boring or bored rather.
All right, let's talk a little bit about what this movie is about here. Reading just the IMDb, Elijah, our main character, must balance his dream of becoming a master sommelier with his father's expectations that he can carry on the family's Memphis barbecue joint. Now that's a story as old as time. I've heard that. I've seen that story play out over a number of different things, but
Hmm.
in this case, it had all of the right elements for me. You know, the Memphis barbecue spot seemed authentic. All the characters seemed very authentic. The way that all the choices that all the actors were making seemed very authentic. Like it just seemed real. Like we're just watching these people live out their lives, but in a very entertaining way.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt that black excellence was all up in the actors. Like the the story didn't catch me as much as Niecy Nash and Courtney B. Vance. And I'm like, I love them separately. I wonder how they would be in a movie together. So they did a great job, I think.
They were great. I bought them as a married couple. I bought them as
Mm-hmm.
caring and parents in the different parental styles. I've met
Yep.
those people. I know
Mm-hmm.
those people, you
Yeah,
know?
they were cool. You could tell the differences, and I cannot wait to dive a little bit deeper into that. But yeah, they were a major selling point for me, where I was intrigued no matter what the movie was about. All I needed to see was them, and I'm like, oh, new black movie on Netflix. Courtney B. Vance, Niecy Nash. I'm with it.
And you know what? I can't hold it in. Let's just keep it. Let's go right into spoilers. I think there's not much that you can say unspoiling this. Suffice to say, I'm giving this one an A for me. If you're interested and someone told you about it, you should already have been watching it. It was really good. What's
Yeah.
your thing?
I also give it an A. It was a solid, good movie. Good movie. Like it's anybody's story, and but they did a good job at personalizing it and freshening it up. So A for me too.
hmm Well, right now we're going to go into spoilers a little bit, just kind of break down most of what the plot is.
Yeah, I'll try to leave some meat on the bone for you to discover yourself. But
No
hey,
pun
that's a good
intended in this case.
analogy for this one,
I know that's
right?
what maybe the pun was intended. Yeah, but just starting off the movie, they give you a really nice back and forth with the imagery between the Memphis barbecue spot and some of those Memphis locations to, I'm assuming, someplace over in France or where they're creating wine, and you kind of see the back and forth of the imagery between cooking ribs and creating wine,
Hmm.
and kind of like I like that. It was sort of a an allegory to where Elijah's head is at. Because I never got the impression that Elijah hated the idea of his family barbecue or hated being there or anything like that. He just wanted something different.
And he wanted something different, and it wasn't much different. In reviewing and analyzing the movie, there's so many more similarities with everything than there are differences. Like, even that contrast of making the wine to his dad, they are both, the end result is you can go to somebody's restaurant and get a finished, bone from somewhere. You can go to a store and grab a bottle of wine, but the care that a sommelier and a professional, I guess, I don't know, barbecuer,
Pitmaster, pitmaster.
pitmaster, they have the same level of care, whether it's the different types of wood or the different type of wine, the technique, and how it's burned, how it's smashed. Like, if you care enough, there's levels to barbecue, just like there's levels to wine. And they could, I almost found myself screaming at the screen, like, just do it together. Do you have the same passion, and it's a combination that doesn't normally pair but sounds great. Like, who wants to turn down ribs and wine? I say you bring them together, but that was just wishful thinking. But yeah, I loved how the stark differences between the France vineyard and the Memphis barbecue pit were more similar than they were different to me.
Yeah, I agree. You're right. At least that's part of what the story is initially. Is you see uh, Courtney B. Vance. What's his name in the movie? The father. He wants to teach Elijah, his oldest son, his oldest son, about the business, how to run it. Well, he knows how to run it, but he's trying to teach him the ins and outs of running it and providing it, even going down to meet with the meat packer, the guy who cuts up their hogs and stuff. And, hey, how you want me to, he's asking how you want me to cut the hogs and trim in the fat. So there's like you're saying, there's a technique to it, but Elijah's more interested in going to this wine tasting that apparently is happening across town. And so
Hmm.
that's the first divergent, and he's never, the father's never mean about it. He's just disappointed. He's like, and he's not giving him any kind of slack with regard to what he wants.
And you know what? I'll just go straight into my what I feel about his character, the dad's character versus the son overall. And I feel like the movie leads you to be a little bit annoyed with the dad, because you're like, can't you see he loves it? Why don't you want your children to follow their dreams? And I love that it has Courtney Vance in that position, because he's such a likable dude that even when you are not supposed to like him, there's a part of me that wants to figure out if I can see it from his perspective. And from his
Hmm.
perspective, his age range, he's a black man who's got a generational successful business that he wants to pass down to his only son. It was in my second watching of the movie that I noticed how Elijah, he's interested in wanting to be a sommelier now. It's not like he wanted that for years. So his dad has had to watch him kind of sort of figure it out, while his dad has his whole life sacrificed in this restaurant. And he's just like, he might have been feeling like it's anything but this. So I kind of felt the dad's frustration in that, as a on the adult side of things, where I think it kind of. I think that there's a bit of jealousy in the dad, where
Hmm.
I'm going a little deep, but he didn't necessarily have a world where he could dream big. He did
Right.
what he could do. So you want your children to have better than you, but sometimes you get what you ask for, and it don't taste how you thought it would.
See, but that's the thing though. With him, he was going by, like, if as a parent, I can understand this. Even as a person who's grown up changing from thing to thing at times, it's like you try stuff. You try on this hat. You try. He said he wanted to be a DJ. I totally get that. Wanting to be a DJ for a while. And it's like, if you love it and that lights you up, then of course you're going to keep flowing with it and build on it. But he tried it and didn't like it. He tried something else and didn't like it. So from his point of view, from his father's point of view, here I have this business here that I need to pass on to you. And
Mm-hmm.
I need you to hear me and listen. But at the same time, he's like, I want this other thing. And it wasn't like it was fly by night. He had been into wine for a number of years at that point,
That's
but he's still
true.
seeing him through father son eyes. I
Yeah.
think we need to move on to the next big relationship in this movie for Elijah, which is him and Tanya, this his girlfriend.
Yeah.
I
She
thought
was
that
a
was
breath of
such.
fresh air.
She was. It was. They had such a little meet cute moment toward the beginning. Her walking into the wine store that Elijah works in, and just he's trying to break down wines in a really relatable way. And I could tell, it's like at the end of that conversation, you could tell he wanted to ask her out, but kind of didn't know how to bridge that gap, you know, from having this conversation. And she was kind of feeling him and digging it. It was such a cute moment, to
Yeah,
see
he
him
was
trying to be
really
cool.
attractive in that moment. The smart guy who doesn't realize he's cute is so cute. Like, you can tell that maybe 10 years ago it was kind of nerdy know it allness.
Uh-huh.
And like he's got just enough swag to keep her interested. But you could tell he was passionate about the wine. If you didn't have personality to back that up, Tanya seemed like the type that would have been out. But the fact that he was able to make something he knew so much about so relatable was really cool. And I like that they
Mm-mm.
hit it off instantly like that. And it wasn't like she didn't friend zone him because he wasn't the coolest. I like that
Mm-mm.
part.
Me too. Me too. Um, let's talk a little bit about Niecy Nash, like her introduction into the movie. I feel like we got an auntie or something that we know people like her in life. I've met that woman.
Yeah, I
She's
don't know if I'm
fun.
related to her, but I always wanted to be. Like, this is what I hope I am to other people. Like, she was just warm. Like, she was like that mom, that I don't know, apple cinnamony smell. Just mom, and she supported her baby, and whatever you wanted to do, that's what we was gonna do. And
Hmm.
I love that contrast between her and the dad. It seemed like with the both of them, you had just enough of each type of love to get things done.
Right, right. You had and then she had a nice backstory where she had come through cancer, and that struck a chord with me, because of our
Yeah.
mom. And
Mhm.
so that kind of helped build and set up her character as more compassionate to having her child want to follow his dreams and step out and do something and be happy, because she was at that life as a gift type stage, after you
Yeah.
survive something like that, it, makes you a little bit more forgiving and stuff. And I think one of the things that really touched me, it's a little deeper into the movie, because that's the whole purpose of this thing is Courtney, the father is taking it personally that his
Yeah.
son doesn't want this business. And at one point, she just has to say, it's like, he's not rejecting you. He just wants something different. That's all. You have to make peace with it. He may not take this business over, and that doesn't mean you don't have a son. It just means you don't have somebody to take this business over. And I need you to be okay with that.
Yeah.
And, and of course they come around to it by the end, but that journey of watching Elijah and his father from the beginning, even from the beginning, early on when he first goes out to Elijah and the father go out to look at wood. This is right around the time when he's about to go on to the wine tasting. Uh, he's playing it. Elijah's playing it so cool because I can see on his face that he doesn't want to be there, but at the same time doesn't want to hurt his father's feelings. And it's like he's just uncomfortable because he's not saying the
Yeah.
thing he wants to say.
Yeah, because
He-
he's still respectful, and he still, I think he still understands his dad's sacrifice, and it's hard to tell. Not It's hard to tell anybody your life's work ain't as important to me as it is to you, especially if that life work has supported you your whole life. You know what I mean?
right.
Like, this cool
Right.
and all, but that's not what I want to do.
It's
Seems like like, how do you say that without appearing ungrateful, but
hmm
also realize I only have one life to live? Like, do you really want me to be miserable here? Like, I feel like he was the kind of respectful son where you could have guilted him into it, but the genuine love that they did have for him, they didn't push it that far. Like you
right.
said, Courtney, he never was actually mistreating him about it, but you could just tell that it ruffled his feathers and hurt his feelings. And
hmm
one other great thing I want to say about this movie is, uh, excuse me. One great thing I wanted to say about this movie is there was a loss in the movie, and usually, it didn't trigger me the way that it losses normally do, because it made so much sense. Like, the mom's character had to step to the side a little bit so that they would have the opportunity to bond, because she was so loving and so supportive that
hmm
had she been around the whole time to keep band-aiding that situation, they may not have ever had a genuine talk to each other relationship. Like, they were put in an instance where they had to. And that just
Right.
made me admire the movie that much more too.
That it really spoke to that sentiment when it comes to screenwriting and stuff. There's a sentiment called "kill your darlings," where you have to, there's a character that needs to die sometimes. There's a character that needs to go away in order for the real story to happen. And you're right. She could have kept band-aiding that situation all the way through, and you never would have had the cathartic moments by the end. Because uh, there's a situation, of course, part of the movie is that Elijah wants to step aside, step away from the barbecue, go to some sommelier school to learn how to become a sommelier, and that's his journey. He's going to do that. He's had to sell his car. His family is very supportive of him, and
Hmm.
there becomes an opportunity where he gets to go to Paris to learn in Paris for a couple of months, which is an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, it
And
is.
and
Especially for something like this.
hmm
But
and
it's
and just
also, can you imagine explaining to, like, grandma that that's what you wanted to do when she has a ready-made business to hand you? Like, you want me to do what now? Like, I think it's just that generation where they are still seeing actual, hoses and lynches, and they did not have the freedom to dream that big. So I could understand how it would be hard for him to see it, or whatever, but it was an amazing thing.
hmm yeah, but as it relates to him when he goes over to Paris and you just kind of see him he was even there was never a point when he had like that goodwill moment good excuse me good goodwill hunting moment or whatever where he's like a super genius or anything. He's just an intelligent guy who really is passionate about wine, and you can see it doesn't all come easy to him, but he
Hmm.
still is enjoying it. He's still taking something from it and pouring his passion back into it, really trying hard despite all the stuff kind of coming at him. And there's never any part when I was like, oh, somebody's being malicious or somebody's doing this. Because while he's over there, of course, that's when his mother gets sick again. And there's a huge impetus for him to want to come back home, but she's like, "What are you gonna do with me here?" That part kind of got to me because that was how it was with mom the last time she got sick,
Yeah, me too.
and I was like, "Do I need to cut?" She's like, "No, what are you gonna do with me here? I can't do that. You know, it's like you can't do anything with me down here. You stay up there and take care of your family, you know." And that really resonated with me because I get that. You know, she didn't
And
want to be
that was
stared
one
at.
of the times. It's like where you love your mom the most and it's annoying the most. Like
Hmm.
I didn't realize that we literally had to live that moment. Like I remember the beginning of our mom getting diagnosed with cancer and how previous family members and that we were close to all have this moment where they're okay with dying or with whatever the car, however it unfolds, they're at peace. And it's like the most selfish, unselfish thing ever. Like, because everybody else is like, I'm not at peace with that. That's good for you, but I'm not at peace with that. And it just jogs the memory of going down there when she had her first mastectomy and her just having a moment with me and she's like, I'm not at peace. I am scared. I'm not ready to go. And it just gave us some relief because I'm like, well, it's not time yet. Obviously, you don't have that peace. So that call where she got it again, and I'm like, you want to scramble. Like, how can I get to you as soon as possible? And she puts that sign, the it's okay. I'm at peace with everything
Hmm.
conversation. And it's the most bittersweet thing ever because everything in you wants to just be there. Like, forget my life or what's going on with me. And fortunately for us, well, for me, I didn't have anything as significant as he had going on right then
Hmm.
to rush down there, but I could still totally relate to that feeling of
Wanting to
you
be there.
wanting to be there and pushing through your own life because she told you to.
Right. And I guess that's the point of the movie. By the time he does come back early through a set of circumstances,
Hmm.
and it becomes so easy to kind of push his dream aside and just get into taking care of somebody mode because he got to take care of his dad. You know, he wants to get up early and fix the fires. He wants to get up and hey, you want me to go with you to meet the meat guy this time? You told me you wanted me before. I can go now. It's like,
And these are
and
the
he
things
puts
that makes your heart just smile because his dad is like, what? He was really paying attention. Oh my God, he really does know how to take over the business. He just gave you
right.
all the feels.
Right. And that's the thing, you know, he like you're saying, he didn't hate the business. He just wanted something for himself. And I think part of his problem was he didn't 100% believe in himself, like all of us sometimes. And this was an opportunity because that was a little thread that kept coming back was him making excuses for not following his dream
Hmm.
and not always not always it wasn't bad, but there were times when he got his moments of weakness, it was always related to him making excuses because there's always going to be something more important than following your dream, more
Hmm.
that's more
More
real and
logical, yeah,
more logical.
tangible.
Right. So so every time he would have a problem, it was always that easy roadblock to be like, well, I can't go back to school now, of course, because I got to help my dad, and he's going to do this by himself if I don't do it, because he's the kind of person who won't ask for help. And so it became real easy for him to stop. And the turning point for me in this film was uh, when he asks him, like when they went out to dinner, that him and his dad, he's been back for a little bit. They buried their mother, and they're having dinner, like a casual father son dinner at a
Yeah.
nice restaurant. And the guy says, "Oh, what can I get you to drink?" And he starts having this casual conversation about some wine, and he's like, "Oh, the grapes were this and da 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 da," and blah, blah, blah. And he's just like, you can see his father saying, "Wow, he really does
He's an
like,
expert on this.
yeah, he understands this.
Hmm.
Like and that moment he's like, you really want to do this? You really passionate about this, aren't you? And he's like, yeah. And from it was like, okay, boom, fine. And that I love that gear that he is like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. And now they got flashcards all over the restaurant. They're building together.
Hmm.
He's quizzing them and stuff like that. And they're, that was a touching part to
And
me.
before that part, one thing that kind of gets us ready for that part that I loved, it wasn't the major turnaround, but like a pre-major turnaround, is when they're in the new restaurant and they have a moment where the dad opens up and lets us know that his dream also wasn't really to run his dad's restaurant or barbecue pit. The dad wanted to be a teacher. And I thought that was just like also a spark of genius because it lets us know that deep down he does relate to his son. And it also makes another moment of jealousy, or maybe not jealousy, but maybe envy, or maybe just admiration that your son had the gumption to come to you like, nah, I'm literally going to do what I'm interested in. And I thought
Hmm.
that was so cool. So by the time the dad did start to take it seriously, now he's getting to fuse what he loves with what he loves. Now he's getting to help quiz him and teach him. And I'm sure that made the part of the dad that wanted to be a teacher smile on the inside too.
I didn't even connect it in that way, but that is, you're right. That is, he gets to fulfill that part of his dream in a way that is probably more resonating than anything else. I mean, of course you want to be a teacher and you want to mold young minds and stuff like that, and then you come to find out that the young mind you've been molding the hardest is right
Hmm.
there waiting for you and still needs your help. I mean, that's good. I didn't even connect with it in that way. This was a movie that I said, who's the one who directed this? I had to go. I was looking for other stuff that this cat did, Prentice Penny, but this is his first feature film, at least the first one they have on IMDb. So I'll definitely be watching out for
Is
what comes
Prentice
next for him.
Penny the I'm sorry, I should have researched this a little bit more, but is he the like celebrity fashion person?
I can't say. I don't know. I didn't look him up like that either. I was just looking for directors and looking at some of his credits. Um, like he's done a lot of producing and co-producing and stuff like that on shows that I like. Um,
Okay.
Girlfriends and Insecure. He's been a producer and writer on those shows. And just as a touch of information about the writing itself, when they're having conversations, like they have a few family dinners in the movie, the family dinners all sound like a real family
Yes.
dinner.
You got the
The way they
people who
talk.
are trying to the funniest part, I love how long it took the family to even know what a sommelier was. Like, you going to
Yeah.
Africa?
And he always kind of just he brushed their stuff aside pleasantly, but he's like, no, what I'm saying is this. And he's like, you still talking about that African wine thing? Like, it's not African. Like,
I can
it's
see
not
our
African.
family doing that just out of sure they don't care enough to learn what it really is. So they gonna entertain your little wine talk by calling it African wine. Or the
Oh my
other two
goodness.
family members, I can't remember who it was, who strictly didn't care. It seemed like there were two family members who were always just, was it an aunt? Just talking about something totally unrelated, like just not there, but there. Like
Yeah,
they really
they
didn't
had an aunt and his sister and her husband who that we need to do a movie about the sister and her husband because the two of them, I'm sure that they have a very loving and happy relationship, but it becomes clear in the movie that the sister can't cook and the
Yes.
husband is not okay with it. Like every chance he gets to run down her cooking, but he's not mean spirited or anything like that. I think the father once asked, like, "Hey, can I get some of these green beans?" And he looked at him like, "Why?"
Yeah, it was some good comedy in the family. The comedy made it specific to an African American family too, because like we said, this story is in the Bible. This story is in every story after that.
Mhm.
Wanting to choose your own path. So the the family made it special to us or significant to us to me because every family table has got these elements in somebody. If you get, your typical African American family gathered around a dinner table, and how many of us are small gays? Like
Right, right.
I never knew about it before this. Like I knew there were people who led wine tastings and owned vineyards, but I didn't know what their title was or anything like that. So I learned a lot in this movie myself.
Oh,
Um,
there's one thing I want to mention as we wind down. Paris. Let's just speak on Paris for a second. One of
okay,
the things that I really appreciated, especially when you watch more and more movies, is when it comes to location shooting, and you're going to especially famous places. A lot of directors, they get complacent when it comes to establishing shots and on the street stuff. I expected to see a shot of the Eiffel Tower at some point to show us that, oh, we're in Paris. And he resisted that urge. I felt like he said, I'm going to show you the Paris that I know as a person. Because all of the street shots, you saw the Arc de Triomphe once, which is the one famous landmark that I recognized. And but the rest of it was just beautiful Parisian streets filled with a lot of people of color, and just different people in general that you don't normally see when you see a movie with Paris as a
yeah,
feature. It just
I
seemed like a real authentic place. Go ahead.
I didn't even notice that I didn't see those. The old white guy with the beret on under the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah,
Like,
they didn't even bring the beret. I
but
didn't even remember
that
seeing a
was just
beret.
another level of the freshness that this provided. With like it
Hmm.
just spoke to all of the senses. Like I said, the music kept you going, the visual kept you going, the food, the wine, like it was very interactive and very like welcoming. So I
Hmm.
could see where you got that. I didn't even pick up on that. My favorite in the turnaround part that just warmed my heart was I actually honestly don't know if they were back in Memphis or if they were in Paris where he had to take his final exams, and he was so nervous. He was nervous. He didn't have anybody to support him, and he looks up and his dad of all people is just there, and they pull out, was it a check chest where they, I
No, it
don't know if
was
they were,
Domino's. Domino's.
oh, dominoes. And then the dad who doesn't drink wine pulls out the celebratory bottle of wine. Like that just brought it all full circle to me. Where
Hmm.
the dad needs, with the mom gone too, he needed to be there for her because she would have been there,
Right.
and he needed to be there because what was he gonna do? Be at home lonely about it? Like they needed each other, and I'm happy that they
Yes.
had each other.
Yeah, and that's something too when for me and my wife, when it comes to there's a up and down, a balance between us that I see in other married couples sometimes. It's like you can't both be down. If she's down, then I have to step up and make sure that I can kind of carry the weight while she's down, and then vice versa. And in this case, like you're saying, mother would have been there. Mom would have been there to help support him. And he just, hey, this is what we got to do. Since she's not here, I got to step up.
Hmm.
And you're right. It was a very touching moment. I'm not going to spoil whether or not he gets his dream come true. But I will say the journey is worth it. This movie is so worth it
Yeah,
watching it.
you know what? It leaves it just open ended enough for me that I am completely satisfied. I don't feel like I need any more information, but I like the part where I can write what I think happened. And what I
Hmm.
think happened is they had the bomb rib and wine place. Like you just learned
Yeah.
about everything. You
Right.
had the
Right.
perfect wine to go with the perfect style of barbecue or meat you had, and it's like an experience. Like that's how I see it happening in my head. And another thing that just came to me when I was talking about, how the mom kind of made way for the father and son to have a relationship. That can happen in other ways too, because even in mine and your relationship, there are times where when I tell you everything that I would want to tell mommy about. And we're not even in the same household. We both now have even other nuclear families, but still like I feel that you and I got closer afterwards because we had to. Not you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
just got closer by default, kind of how the dad did. Like there are times where you definitely step into that space for me because nobody knows more than you what I could be lacking in that moment.
Hmm. Yeah. I
So
feel
I
you.
just
Yeah.
appreciate it that all coming together.
I appreciate you saying so, and I feel the same way. That was one of our mother's dreams for us, or at least her goals for us, was to be friends. Just over the years and stuff like that. Even though I'm 10 years older and whatnot, there's a tendency when you're older to step into parental roles with your siblings. And there's times we grew up, I had to take care of you and things like that and stuff. But she always was concerned about us developing that kind of relationship exclusively because she didn't want me to be your parent. She
Hmm.
wanted me to be your brother. And I can see that. So, not to
Yeah,
delve too deeply into our own
I know.
personal stuff.
Like, don't nobody cry on here, but
You are not crying on here. Uh, on that
I ain't
note,
that smart. Don't tell me.
on that note, my final, like I said, my final review and grade on this film is an A. I would recommend it to anyone who wants to listen. Shot it from the mountaintops. If Niecy Nash didn't get 3 job offers the second this thing was released, there's something wrong in the world, more wrong than what's going on already.
Yeah,
Uh,
everybody from the girlfriend to Elijah to
mm-hmm.
Courtney B. Vance, they all did stellar jobs. Like I loved the acting all throughout this particular movie.
Right. Yeah.
And
So
I
yeah.
want to take a
Mm-hmm.
minute to shout out the artwork accompanying with this. I think we brush over that a little too easily. Like my brother, aka my other co-host, uh, is banging out these original handcrafted art pieces for these movies. Um, it could. I wanted just to make mention of it because in looking at it, you can tell that it's I don't know if you're able to tell the detail of this being an actual handmade creation and not just a clip art we pulled off the internet. And I just wanted to have everybody to check that out because you're not getting this anywhere else. This is not the poster that you see. Well, I guess we're doing Netflix, so I guess it wouldn't be at the movie theater, but still, check it out. All of the links to the art can be found in the comment section below, as well as the description box. So if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and like us, leave us a comment, subscribe to our channel for new uploads every Wednesday, accompanied by handcrafted art pieces every Wednesday.
Well, thank you. As I sit here, if you could see me blush, I'd be blushing. That's something I don't always do for myself, tout my own horn, but thank you, sister, for shouting me out like that. Right. And give your Instagram feed and everything like that too. I'm going to have it showing on the screen as well, but yeah, definitely check in with us and comment and subscribe. And like she said, we just let's keep the conversation going, because we're going to keep doing this and having a good time watching movies and telling you about them.
Absolutely. Well, if you're looking for me, you can find me at Mrs. Ashley_J at Twitter. I'm on Instagram at pretty_peculiar_. Currently, my page is private. I'm gonna go ahead and make it public today. Loosen the reins and all.
Just a titch.
So go ahead and follow me, at me, get at me, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
See you next week.
Tell me.
All right. Peace.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. That's the end of our show. To continue the conversation, you can contact Ashley J on Instagram at pretty_peculiar_, and you can contact me on Instagram at scott.fain, or check out my papercut illustration art pieces at scottfain.com. Music by Arielle Alexander on Instagram at Ms. She Did It Again and SheDidItAgainMusic.com. This has been a Let Me Tell You About, presented by Asbury Park and Curtis.